Hello, everyone. Welcome. Cool. That works well with my students. I didn't know if it would work well here. Hi. Thank you very, very much for coming. I'm Robert, and I'm very pleased to welcome you to the current Thomas Colloquium on Free Enterprise featuring Venus Williams. Our aim is to bring a series of outstanding lectures and to the community and to YSU that focus on business, economics, and finance. And we've been doing this since 1981. So I wasn't there at the beginning, but we're really, really glad you're here. I'd like to recognize some folks who are here, in particular President Bill and First Lady Lee Ann Johnson. Provost Jen Pintar, there we go. And Chair of the Board, Mike Peterson. If you are here, I guess not. I'd also like to give a little thanks to the Youngstown Foundation, who partners with the board of the chair. Sure. Cool. Moderating our discussion tonight are Jenna Forbes and Kennedy Dean. Our speaker is one of the most decorated and successful athletes of all time. 7 Grand Slam singles titles, 14 Grand Slam doubles titles, 2 Grand Slam mixed doubles titles, 5 Wimbledon championships, and 4 Olympic gold medals. She is also an extremely accomplished entrepreneur and business person. With several companies, she founded V-Star, a full-service commercial and residential design firm, part owner and chief brand officer to Asutra, a health and wellness company, and launched her own plant-based protein company, Happy Viking. Venus is also the author of 2 best-selling books, and you should certainly buy them if you haven't already, Come to Win and Strive. So please welcome Venus Williams.
Hello. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's an absolute honor to welcome Venus Williams to Youngstown State University. We are so proud to have you here today. Venus, your incredible achievements on and off the court continue to inspire people all around the world, and we're so thrilled to have you here with us tonight. So with that said, we'll go ahead and get started. First, it was just mentioned that you have a new book that just came out, Strive, the 8 Steps to Find Your Awesome, which I love. This discusses approaches to wellness, performance, that focuses on self-improvement that are reachable and sustainable for the everyday person, not even a world-class athlete like yourself. What inspired you to write Strive, and what message do you hope readers would take away from that?
Hey everyone, how are you? Good to see you guys, and thank you so much for having me here. Got to meet a lot of you guys, some student athletes, so I'm so happy we're gonna have some fun tonight. But yes, I did write a new book. There's a lot of work that goes into a book. It's a few years. So obviously it's nice when it actually happens. But also for me, it was amazing too, because I've spent so much time in this life and in this world learning a lot of lessons. A lot of them were fun, a lot of them were tough, but all of them were lessons, and it's all this knowledge that, you know, I'd like to pass on. And we were talking about that a little bit back there, about what that's like to be able to pass on what you know, and that's so important to pass on that information. It's like passing on the baton to the next person of whatever that age is.
Oh, great, thank you. So in the book Strive, there's like really cool 8 steps. So I'm just going to talk about a couple of them. One of them, you talk about pushing yourself out of your personal comfort zone, and that's hard for some of us to do. So speaking from an entrepreneur standpoint, what would you say to someone who wanted to take that next step, they were afraid to take that next step, and what would be even an easy, reasonable first step for that person?
Well, the first step is always the most important step. So taking that step is really the beginning of winning, right? And the beginning of living your dream. And I think a lot of times, if you're afraid, you have to ask yourself, what decision would I make if I weren't afraid? And then once you figure out what that decision is, then that is exactly the one to do.
Okay, wonderful. So is there a tip to get over that fear?
Yeah, definitely, because fear, a lot of the times, is just an anticipation of what might happen, right? It's a thought in our head. It's just this kind of electrical response in our head. It's not even necessarily real. So we are what we tell ourselves. And if we allow ourselves to be afraid and to feel fear and to let that be our leader, then we'll get the results of fear. But if we allow something else, the time you say, what if I don't make it? What if it doesn't work out? Also at the same time, you can say, what if I do make it? What if it does work out? What if something amazing happens? So it's about framing that fear in a different way. Fear is good. You don't have any fear, you don't want to go too far off the deep end. A good amount of fear helps you not to do the wrong thing, but you cannot let it lead you.
All right, wonderful. Sometimes we have to put fear on a shelf, is what I heard once.
Yes,
so
I like that.
Yeah, so I thought that was, exactly what you were saying right there. We have to have it, but we don't have to pull it out all the time. But sometimes we better pull it out. One of the other 8 steps in the book that I was drawn to in Finding Your Awesome was to inspire yourself. And to talk about removing what no longer moves you. We have some entrepreneurs in the room. We have some business leaders in the room. What do you suggest to business leaders to make sure they're still inspired? Is there something that maybe you do or you ask yourself to say, hey, this still moves me, or I still want to be a part of whatever this is that I'm doing?
Yes, being able to remove things that don't move you. And I think we're talking about one of the chapters called Observe. And this is about being able to observe yourself, observe those around you, observe your diet, and observe the way that you move. And that's what the book is about. These 8 steps, and in each 8 steps, it's those 4 steps within it, right? And sometimes being able to remove things that around us that don't work for us anymore is hard. Sometimes we don't even notice it's not working. That can be our jobs, that can be our relationships, that can be the way that we're thinking, that can be the way that we're doing things. It can be even the way that we're taking care of ourselves or not taking care of ourselves. So one of the most powerful things you can do for your life and for success is definitely to continue to observe yourself, and not just one day, but all the days, each and every day, to figure out where you are, and what's working and what's not, and the things that aren't working, adjust them or remove them.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much for that. So when we're sitting there at night, and I don't know if you have any advice for this, and these things are running through your mind, is there maybe something that says, oh, if this is bothering me this much, or, when did something ever click for you that maybe I should stop this endeavor or stop this? Did you ever have anything that happened to you like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. I think a lot of times when some things are bothering us and on repeat in our head, a lot of those moments is because we're sitting on the truth. So either we're not telling ourselves the truth, we're not telling the people in our lives the truth. And sometimes it's hard because it's painful. You don't want to hurt yourself or hurt others or rock the boat or those kinds of things. So getting used to telling the truth constantly is hard. I lost it. Up there, we're back. Hi. But once you start doing that, sometimes it gets hard to not tell the truth. You got to start holding your tongue because you say too much. So when that happens, the truth gets you to where you're supposed to be. It might be uncomfortable, and it might not be where you wanted to go or where you thought you were going, but it's actually where you should be. And so when you start to handle those truths sooner, then you get to where you're supposed to be sooner.
Yeah, I like that. Handle the truth sooner. Yeah, that was great. All right.
Hi, Venus. Good to see you again. I'm going to ask you a question about your book Strive as well, which a little shameless plug for you. You can get on Amazon or wherever you buy your books. In your book Strive, you focus on balance as one of the 8 ways to achieve your awesome. My question to you is, what would you suggest to self-proclaimed overachievers who have a hard time saying no?
Oh, no is one of the most powerful words, and it's one syllable. It's like no, and you can say it so many ways. Nah. You can throw it if you want to get really powerful. It's like If you want to get really crazy, you got more syllables. Not today. So it's so powerful, and it is okay to say no, and you don't have to feel guilt for doing something that is healthy for you, and to say no to something that is unhealthy for you. And that goes back to getting to your truth. If you start telling the truth, you'll be where you're supposed to. So no is fine. No is a part of balance, and no is something that I've learned how to use at a young age.
How can you recognize if you're becoming too much of a yes person, which ultimately leads to a lack of balance in your life?
Yeah, I think yes is good, right? So saying yes is a great way to find new experiences and experience new things, learn new stuff. But if it starts to compromise your happiness or how you're using your time, right? Because there's only so much time. So you have to figure out how to use that time best for you, especially if you're running a business or achieving something, or even if you're raising your family, right? There's only so much time. So being able to say yes to the right things that work, and that takes time. You have to actually think about it. Like, what really matters to me? What do I need on my plate, and what is actually not serving me well?
So you're saying sometimes saying yes to things teaches you how to say no to things.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
You have many accomplishments, which we heard about in sports and business and philanthropy, and they're all extraordinary. What drives you to keep going after those goals, even after achieving so much? What keeps you getting up in the morning and trying something new?
I think for me, what keeps me going is I'm determined to live a life of no regrets. And for me, a life of no regrets doesn't mean that I didn't fail or I didn't lose or sometimes I didn't mess up. It doesn't mean that at all. It means that I gave everything and I left it all out there. So when I keep going, it means that I still feel like I have something to give. And if I feel like I have something to give, then I need to let it all out and give it. The last thing that I want to happen in my life is to look back and say, I could have done more. I could have tried harder. I never say I shouldn't have made that mistake. Sometimes you make a mistake. But as long as you learn from it, that's fine. And that is a life of no regrets.
A life of no regrets. I like that. You had mentioned earlier in the student session, which some of our students are here tonight in this session, about venturing into the world of AI, which well, by your face, I'm afraid to ask the question, but but you did venture into it recently. We're very interested in that when it comes to Youngstown State, and particularly in the School of Business. And it's so inspiring that you did that. So when you ventured into it with your AI-driven interior design business, it was really cool to blend creativity with technology. And you said earlier you were Googling words to learn what they meant when you're sitting at the table. And I just wanted to repeat for the audience that you mentioned how important it is to be able to have a voice at the table when something's important to you, and to learn that. So how do you envision this AI kind of transforming the particular world that you're in with creativity? Where do you see that going?
Oh, AI it is already changing the world. I never envisioned myself being a part of it. It was by chance. It was one of those things where I could have said no, but then I said yes.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought, wow, what a challenge. And I thought, okay, this is that moment where you can be a part of the future or stay in the past. And I thought, I'm going to take this risk and go to the future. And the future came quickly. I wasn't ready, but it is exciting to see new tools to be more efficient. And AI is starting to do powerful things even in fields like medicine, right? Being able to find solutions and cures much quicker than before. So in that sense, it can be used for a world of good. And of course in design, and we're not saving lives in design, but at the same time, we still need tools to be effective and to be more cost effective. So it's powerful.
Interesting. How did it impact your creativity, the AI? Do you think that it's adding to it, or?
Yeah, for sure. You're able to ideate quicker. You're able to layer it on top of projects, if that makes any sense. Use different functions within systems and softwares together to come up with something quicker, faster, and more cost effective. So we're just in the beginning. So there's a long way to go. This is like the beginning of the internet, right?
Yeah, it is definitely just the beginning, and we tap into it here at YSU to see how it can help our students, but also not be a crutch, so it's a fine line sometimes.
Right. It shouldn't be writing your papers.
It should not be writing your papers.
FYI.
Did every student hear that? Right.
But what was this old software, Turnitin or something like that?
What was that?
Turnitin, where you would check to make sure you hadn't copied someone else's paper.
As faculty members, we do have some tools up our sleeves to check.
So you have tools up your sleeves for AI now.
We do. We have a couple tricks that we can check.
That's bad news. Sorry, guys.
So, for sure. So, but you had mentioned that was taking a risk. It's scary to people. AI can seem scary to someone. What would you say to someone who's like, oh, I don't think that's for me. I don't know how this would even be used at my business.
Right. Well, you can always play it safe, and there's nothing wrong with playing it safe. There's a lot of success in playing it safe, and it's about choosing the life that you want. And as an athlete, one of the things I had to learn was if I just played it safe and I just waited maybe for somebody else to lose, like if I just stay in this rally and someone will miss, I realized that I never won big. And I had to learn that young. I realized I had to go out and I had to take it and I had to take some risk. And if I lost taking that risk, I could live with that. But the last thing I wanted to do was let someone dunk on my head. So even if I had to go for the dunk and completely miss the basket, and I'm not a basketball player, but just using sports analogies, that no one gives it to you. You have to go for it, you have to grab it, you have to take it. And those are the things that I learned in my career at a young age, but also I continue to learn it. As you get older and you have different concerns, you have different fears as you get older and wiser. And when you're younger, sometimes you can just be like fearless. And then you get older and you learn better. You're like, there's a few things to be afraid of now. Let's not let the fear take over, but you think more, you calculate more. So there's different periods in life where you have to remind yourself to take risks. And on the court, I always made sure I reminded myself to take risk. And it was interesting too, because I always felt more comfortable when I did take risks. And when I didn't take risk and when I held back, I just felt anxious. I didn't feel comfortable, and I knew I wasn't giving it my all or doing what I should have done. And it was that same feeling and those same feelings of going for it that I took off the court with me.
Great. So kind of living in the space of risk sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember this match too, where I was young. I was 15 years old, and I didn't want to lose the match. I'm playing some girl. And I remember I was doing what my dad didn't tell. He told me not to do that. So there's no tennis players in the house, but he didn't allow us to. He always made us play offense. So even on a place where everyone played defense, he told us we had to play offense. So we started playing this game where everything was offensive. It didn't matter where we were on the court. We played an offensive shot. But it didn't start out that way in the beginning. In tennis, there's a shot called a slice forehand, which should have been obsolete back in 1970. But I was nervous, and I was a kid, and I was learning, and I got nervous, and so I was hitting slice forehands, and I lost the match. And I remember after that match, I said, I'm never doing that again. Because if I have to lose, I don't want to lose that way. I want to lose the right way. And my dad didn't say anything, but I knew. He let me process it. I felt that loss, and it was a good lesson. And I got through it, and I learned I've got to take a risk. Sitting back and slicing forehands and hoping something happens, it's never going to work.
Great. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that.
By the way, I played that girl.
Yeah.
I got older. 3 years later, I was 18.
Yeah.
We met again.
Oh. And?
I remembered, because I never let it go. If I lost a match, unless it was Serena, and maybe it should have been that way with her. Maybe that's why I lost too many matches to her, because I was like, oh, little sister. It shouldn't have been little sister, little sister, you know. But anyone else, like if I lost the match, we were never on speaking terms ever again in life. So of course, when I saw her, I was not on speaking terms. And thankfully I got older, I got wiser. I was not slicing. I listened to my dad, won the match, and that was it.
Good. All right. So, speaking of taking risks, it's very clear that you're always exploring innovative ways to expand your business portfolio and try new things. So another exciting venture was when you, and speaking of Serena, became the first African-American woman to have a stake in an NFL franchise in the Miami Dolphins. Mm-hmm. So could you get, oh, okay, yeah, let's cheer for that. That's awesome. We like football here in Northeast Ohio. I don't know if you noticed, but so.
Okay, what team do you guys root for here?
Well, it's split between the Steelers and the Browns in this area.
Oh, I hear some dissent. Everybody calm down.
There's a lot of house divideds in Youngstown, Ohio, that's for sure, right? So you're safe with the Dolphins. You're safe with the Dolphins. So what interested you in that opportunity to get started in there, and what kind of impact do you hope that has on women being in sports ownership?
Absolutely. I love sports. Are you kidding? Sports was my way to live my dream. And of course, being a part of another sport that wasn't my own also was just incredible. And football is actually my favorite sport outside of tennis. Outside of track and field, I love those two. So I'm a huge football fan and love seeing those guys out there, and just the athleticism sometimes makes me feel like I'm not an athlete at all, you know. I'm doing backflips into the end zone. I never did a backflip on the tennis court. So it's very cool to watch, and I think it's just a tale of, if you take your opportunities, more will come. And when you take one step, then the other one comes, and you continue to take the steps, and you get to the fly, and you have the flywheel. And I remember I played this Wimbledon final once, and Serena was we always advise each other. We don't advise each other if we play each other, but we did advise each other all the time, and I could ask her, how do I play so-and-so? Or, you know, we would support each other before our matches and say, you know, good luck out there, but do this, do that. And I remember she advised me before this final, and I just remember she told me before I went out there, she said, if you take your opportunities, more will come. And that was her advice at this age. It was like a movie, you know, it was like Field of Dreams or something. If you build it, they will come. And this match, I was just completely down the whole time. It was a very long match. It was more than 3 hours. And finally, at the very end, in overtime, I was finally up. And literally her words echoed in my head, because finally I had this opportunity. And I thought, I got to take this opportunity. And I had that one, and more came, and I was able to win that match, even though I don't think I was a better player that day. I think my opponent played better than me. And it's hard to lose a match when you played better, but somehow you lose it. And so it's like when you get that chance, you grab onto it and you never let go.
Cool, interesting. Well, that was pretty cool news whenever that came out. So as a football fan myself, I appreciated that. So how do you see the landscape changing for women, you know, in sports and in business in the upcoming years?
It's such an exciting time in women's sports. I feel like the whole world's mesmerized by, you know, Reese and Clark, right? Every day we're like seeing what they're doing. That's so amazing. And then even at the Olympics, just seeing all kinds of athletes be able to shine. That's so important, because sports are such a big teacher, and you learn so much from sports. You get so much out of sports. You're confident, you're strong, and that's so important for girls. And it's also so important for these same girls who've learned to be confident and strong to have those same opportunities to be able to earn a living in sports and to do what they love. So to me, it's just beyond exciting. Tennis And basketball, we're kind of alone, and then now basketball is growing. We've seen women's soccer explode. Now there's women's hockey, and now there's rugby. Like, I couldn't be thrilled. Like, if I could do it all over again, maybe I'd choose another sport. Who knows?
My next question for you is on name, image, likeness. For those of you who don't know, name, image, likeness is for collegiate athletes. We are now able to earn money from businesses for promoting their brand. My question to you is, in the new landscape of NIL, do you see an upside or downside to young athletes capitalizing on this?
No, absolutely up. And I'm so excited for you young athletes. And as an athlete too, and I turned pro at a very young age. So I always felt that the collegiate athletes were doing so much and were never able to capitalize on their success and their talent and all the amazing things that they were doing on the field that many people were watching. And I just think it was long overdue. I'm so happy it's happening. I think there's going to be more change as the future comes, but it's like, and it's great too because young people now have this platform, right, that other young people are watching. So it creates more role models, it creates more opportunities for other young people too to get involved and to be inspired. Because the thing about doing something positive is that when you do something positive, there's always someone watching, and sometimes you don't even know that they're watching. And that was the case for me even in my own home. Serena's the younger sister, but I learned so much from her, and she was so fearless and so talented from a young age, and not even the talent, let's just put the talent out the door. She was just so fearless. And I was more or less like the Grinch. We're going somewhere. But you know how the Grinch, and he had that little heart, and he hated Christmas. And through the power of Christmas, he was able to, grow a heart and be a part of Whoville. Didn't have to be alone anymore, right? So I was kind of like this person who had a lot of talent, but I didn't really have the heart to cross over that line and become a champion. But I watched Serena, and I watched her do it, and I saw what she had, and I said, oh, I want that. I want to learn how to do that. And she never said a word, and to this day, I've never even had this conversation I'm having with you guys with her. She has no idea what that meant, because we just never talked about tennis, because my dad said, I'm not raising any dumb athletes. We're not talking about sports when we leave the court. So we just never really talked about tennis. He wanted us to talk about other stuff. But the moral of the story, after I'm finally done talking about the Grinch and everything else, is that without her saying a word, I watched her and I learned, because she was doing something positive. And so that's what I love about these young athletes having a platform now, is that everyone is able to see them do something positive, and it's going to inspire so many.
Absolutely. So you're a very accomplished woman and have pursued higher education while also dominating in tennis. How has earning degrees in fashion design and business administration shaped your career?
Yeah, absolutely. It broadened my horizons. I was able to take that information that I learned, especially in business, from finance and accounting. And those were the last classes I took, because historically I wasn't great at math. So I waited to the very end, and then I was like, I love this. I want to change my major. Too late. These were the last classes. So and that's why you should never be afraid. Never let it hold you back. But in any case, I learned so much, skills that are really transferable, not only in business, but also just in your personal life as you're making financial decisions. You're able to understand the landscape of your own personal life so much more. So having that higher education was not only important, but it was well-rounding, and it opened my eyes to other things. I think I was talking to the president of the student government body earlier.
Yeah, she's here somewhere.
She's somewhere. She was telling me how she was, was a philosophy major. And I was like, I was exposed to philosophy, but I didn't do great. But, those kinds of things are so important to be exposed. Exposure is so important. Through exposure, we find ourselves in new worlds that you never know that you would have been there, or even known that was an option to maybe even pursue a career in. So that was great for me.
Did any of your connections from your degrees help you in the business world? Is there somebody in particular that you met in college or while earning your degree that has helped you start a business or while you're in business?
Yeah, definitely my professors.
Yeah.
Definitely were great, and it's wonderful to learn from amazing professors that are really involved. Because you remember what you've learned, you you get more passionate about the subject, and it's just an overall exciting experience, and that can be actually life-changing. So I really enjoyed having that connection with them.
So out of all of the amazing things that you have done, the other piece that we wanted to touch on was philanthropy and your being an advocate for women's rights, especially when it comes to gender equality in sports and pay. United Nations Cultural Organization, UNESCO, named you the first promoter of gender equality, which is awesome. So what impact do you hope this initiative will have? And how can an everyday woman that's working, contribute to this, to the cause of gender equality and equal pay?
Oh, everyone counts. You can do something just by doing something for yourself too, right? Mm-hmm. And those things are just in the workplace, asking for a raise, questioning any questionable practice in your workplace, whether that has to do with promotion or salaries. Also, not keeping your salary a secret. A lot of times people keep their salaries a secret, and it's an opportunity for, not an opportunity, but it creates a place where when you keep secrets and there's no information, people don't know that they're being paid less, right? So it's important to share that information. So those are just simple things that you can do just for yourself, and sometimes those can be scary, right? Because it's hard to stand up, quote unquote, for your boss, but you have to stand up for yourself. Your boss can't live your life for you, and your boss is not keeping your lights on, but they can help you keep your lights on if you ask them for that raise. Mm-hmm. So it's important to do that. And also it's important to talk about it, because if we're not having that conversation, then no one's thinking about it. And so then we perpetuate the same situations. And it's also super important for men to be involved and help lead the conversation too, because men, you guys have wives, you have sisters, daughters, people, women in your life that you love. So being involved in the conversation is just as important.
Yeah, great. So it is an issue that we still see, in our country with pay inequality. So, statistics still show that women make approximately 80 to 84 cents on the dollar of their male counterpart.
Yeah.
So, what would you say to a business leader or a business owner to check maybe their own biases, or to maybe check what's going on at their organization to see that they're fixing those issues that they may not even realize they have?
Yeah, we all have biases. Doesn't matter who we are, where we come from. Doesn't matter if you're in the majority or of the minority. We have biases that we need to face. And so you can't just tell yourself, I don't have a bias. We all do. So that way we have to keep our eyes open, and most importantly, our mind open. And I personally experienced inequity in my own life. As a kid, I started playing tennis at 4 years old. So I don't even remember learning how to play. It has just been something I've always done. And my dad asked both me and Serena, and he said, pick a tournament that you want to win more than anyone else. And so I was the oldest, so I answered the question first. And I said, I want to win Wimbledon. And then he asked Serena, and she said, I want to win Wimbledon. But he said, no, pick another tournament, because she was always copying me, and he wanted her to think for herself. So she picked the US Open. But in any case, I was this young kid who had this dream to go to Wimbledon and win Wimbledon. That's what I was, my dad had put this dream in us. And so I got there, I played the tournament. Another story for another time. Didn't win that match the first round. I had a lot to learn, but then I get there and I found out, wow, I'm not being paid the same as men. So if you can imagine, I got there, just turned 17 years old. What a slap in the face that was. So as a person who experienced inequity after, climbing this ladder to finally get to this dream, and you get there and you're just amazed that this could still be happening. And at the time it was 1997, don't tell anyone. But in any case, it's so important because we're experiencing it in every single industry. And while it's improving, it's not improving fast enough. And all of us experience it in our own way. And so that's why it's so important that we have this conversation.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
You're involved in various organizations, and your work with the Harlem Junior Tennis and Education Program emphasizes not just tennis, but also life skills. My question to you is, how do you believe sports, beyond the physical aspects, helps shape youth in other critical areas?
Oh, sports, it's everything. It definitely teaches you resilience. You're going to learn how to be disciplined. Discipline is so important because discipline is the gateway to freedom. If you can discipline yourself in your life, then your options are wide open, and that's what sports teaches you. Of course, you have to learn how to work with other people. You got to learn to win and lose, to be a good sport, to set goals. The list is absolutely endless outside of the health benefits. So it is so important that, all young people play sports, but all people. Something about pushing yourself physically really teaches you something about yourself, and it teaches you that the limits I thought I had, they actually don't exist. I can go so much further than what I thought. And that is so powerful. That's a powerful tool to have in your pocket to pull out any time, that I am absolutely limitless.
That was a fantastic answer. We're going to move on to some tennis career-based questions.
Okay.
Some of these questions actually came from our women's tennis team. You might have answered them earlier. I see some of them are here tonight. Again, we also have our men's tennis team in attendance. My first question is, can you share a lesson you've learned from a loss that ended up benefiting you in the long run?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell a different story than I told earlier.
Perfect.
I played the Olympics in 2016, and the Olympics is quite important. You're playing for your country, you're so excited, and it was a disaster. Lost first round in the singles, lost first round in the doubles. Serena and I had never lost an Olympic match ever, so it didn't turn out the way that we thought. And that year, I think a new event was the mixed doubles, where a man plays with a woman. It's a mixed doubles team. And so I thought, man, they're not going to choose me. I've been bombing out and everything, but they chose me, and it was a chance for redemption. And I ended up playing with a partner who, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, he wasn't as experienced as everyone else, maybe. And I had to carry the team, and it was very difficult. And so we finally arrived to the final, and and this was a great accomplishment after, a terrible, terrible performance in the rest of the events. And I ended up, we won the first set, and unfortunately my partner, I think I saw his body on the court, but I think maybe his spirit left the court. He wasn't there anymore. We lost the second set. He came back, and then we play like a 10-point tiebreaker, so it's first to 10 points, win by 2. So we get in this tiebreaker, and I had a horrible arm injury, and I remember I was serving at 5-3, we were up, so he was back, his body and spirit were back, and I just remember I had a second serve, and I was just so nervous, but I just thought, I'm going to hit this ball as hard as I can. The ball went in, and at that point, we're up 6-3, 4 more points for a win, and I felt like I'm in the driver's seat, and I thought, I know I can do this, but I don't know if we can. And unfortunately, he didn't play as well, and we didn't win that match, and I got a silver medal, which was not my goal. And for years, I just complained and complained and complained and complained that I'd lost that match, how horrible it was, and blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't until years later that at the end, on match point, I actually missed the last ball because I got so desperate and so overwhelmed from carrying him all those rounds and him, having outer body experiences or whatever it was that was happening, right? But then I finally realized years later, I missed the last shot. And that no matter what happened, I still had control of myself and my performances. And no matter how bad things got or how desperate things were or how bad the situation was, I still had control of myself and I still had an option. So that was a tough lesson to learn, and it took me years to learn it. And golly, I wish I had a chance again at that. At least if we're going to lose, maybe I could just let him miss just one more shot. But in any case, that was a powerful lesson for me.
So you talked about playing in the Olympics. Could you tell me a little bit about what a typical day in your life would have been?
At the Olympics?
Sure.
Oh, I'm a huge pin trader. That was almost just as important as the matches, is like getting as many pins as you can from fellow athletes, and it's quite fun to meet, and you meet a lot of people that way, and to get a pin from an athlete where there's only like 3 athletes that came from that country, and you get to meet these athletes and have that experience. And I haven't played in Olympics since 2016, and obviously Tokyo was very challenging and during COVID, so not the perfect Olympics, but it's an amazing experience to play for your country and also to be an Olympian, and the feeling there from everyone, whether you're watching or volunteering or playing, is incredible. So I'm so excited we're going to have one finally in the U.S. You know, in all my career, there was never one in the U.S. I was always hoping and praying we'd win a bid, but it just never happened. So that's going to be really special for the athletes. So maybe there'll be some athletes in here who might make it to the Olympics. You never know.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, how was the food in the dining hall there in the Olympics? Did you like it or not?
I definitely did eat the McDonald's. Not a lot, but just a little, you know. But I did, yeah. It's not great. But the tennis team were a little bit spoiled. We don't stay there. So the tennis team is not big. It's just a few of us. It's like 4 people.
Yeah.
For men and women, it's only 8, and we don't stay in the village. So I heard it can get noisy in there. But the Olympics were very special for my dad too. And with tennis, the Olympics we were taken out of the Olympics in 1924. So we didn't even come back until '88. So we haven't been in the Olympics that long. And my dad, the Olympics was so special for him, and he would have us do what he called mental training. And so we would watch the Olympic documentaries over and over and over with these amazing athletes like Greg Louganis or Jackie Joyner-Kersee, and we would watch their Olympic feats, and he would, you know, tell us to visualize that being you and think of the things that you can do, and we would watch them for years over and over and over again. So initially I went to the Olympics because it wasn't a tradition in tennis, like it was the Grand Slams, but I went to the Olympics because I thought, I have to go for my dad. But when I got there, I completely fell in love. It's the best experience of my life.
You said you guys traded pins. Which country had the best one, do you think?
Well, actually, Serena moved in on a pin deal that I had. This is so crazy. I just remember I was talking to this guy, and he was like from a country, maybe like Georgia or some country in the Far East. And I was talking to him for 3 days to get this pin because it's going to sound strange, but the market gets flooded. And people don't want you, they already have USA Tennis, and they don't want your pin anymore. So you got to start wheeling and dealing and say, yeah, I've got this pin. It gets quite competitive. And I just remember, like, I was playing this match, a long 3-setter, and I see her, like, going back and forth. And at the end, she took the pin. And I was like, in the middle of my match that you should have been watching, you moved in on my deal that you knew I was brokering. So you never know what's going on in the stands.
So before a big match like the Olympics, do you have any specific rituals or routines that help you stay calm and centered?
Yeah, you asked this question earlier, and my answer to that was I hate being superstitious. It's hard not to fall into being superstitious because when something works, you just want to like make it perfect and replicate that again in sport and in life. But really the thing for me that worked in a match was just knowing I was prepared, to know that I had put everything in it. I'd thrown in the kitchen sink to make sure that I was prepared before that day came. And when that day came and the bell tolled, I knew I was ready to play because I'd put in the work. And not only I had put in the work physically with my body, but I'd also put in the work mentally to mentally prepare myself for this match. And for me, that mental preparation involved visualization, visualizing myself there in those moments, visualizing that match, visualizing different moments in that match. Bye. See you later. And then also journaling and going back to observing yourself, journaling what I was feeling, why I was feeling that way, if those feelings were even real, if it was just some anxiety in my head, and if there was some real thing that I needed to really confront, then being able to pinpoint what that was. So it wasn't just gym and tennis and all brawn. It was a lot of brain and a lot of mental and emotional preparation that went out there. So then you don't necessarily have to rely on superstition. You've created your own luck by doing the work.
You did admit earlier, though, that you might wear the same pair of socks twice in a row. Is that true?
Well, I liked to wear the same dress.
Got
And
it.
even if I only had one of those dresses, and you best believe I was in my room washing that dress by hand, so that way I could show up with that dress. And then every now and then you'd lose with that dress, and you're like, dang it, I'm mad because I didn't get to wear the other dress. It was cute too. So yeah, that's a part of sports, right? Are you superstitious?
I play softball, so I'm definitely superstitious. Absolutely. I'm going to steal this question from earlier. One of the students asked, do you have any affirmations that you like to say to yourself before a big match?
Yeah, absolutely. Those affirmations definitely change. And my affirmations always just started in practice, that when I was in practice, I also told myself what I needed to not what I needed to hear, like I didn't like yes man myself, that would be weird, but in those moments when you're having a bad moment on the court, then I would tell myself that, it was still a good moment, that I was enjoying the challenge, that, things that come easy weren't as much fun, or whatever it is I needed in that moment, just always outsmarting your own mind, because your mind will come up with different things of maybe why you couldn't do it, or maybe why you might fail, or maybe why this moment might be harder than the last moment. And it's interesting because I had different things I told myself each time I won different tournaments. And sometimes I would use the same thing, but I felt like sometimes the mind is resistant and it'll start to resist one thing that you've told yourself. So I'd like to keep my mind on my toes by telling myself new and different affirmations every time, so that way my mind could never catch up and be smarter than me.
You mentioned that you like to just over-prepare for your matches to know that you're, like I said, prepared for them. What's one skill or attribute you believe sets you apart from other players? Is it over-preparing?
Over-preparing, there's nothing wrong with putting in the work and nothing wrong with putting in the extra hours. And I was always one of those players that I needed to put in the time and the extra hours so I could just sleep at night. I slept better if I just knew that I just over-prepared. But also at the same time, it's really about that the effort that you're willing to give. And not only the effort, but the effort you're willing to give to doing it the right way. Because people are doing it. People are doing all kinds of things out there. But are they actually doing it the right way? And that takes more time. It takes more effort. It takes more dedication. It takes a lot of that. It takes finding something in yourself, whether you're the Grinch like me, or who was the guy in Oz, the lion who was trying to get a heart too. There's a lot of different, folks in these stories who needed to find something that they didn't have. But at the end of the day, it's just about the effort you're going to give. We're all people. We're all the same. We all have a heart. We all have a brain and a mind. But the extraordinary people give the extraordinary efforts.
That was a fantastic answer. Before we go to our student questions, I have a couple of rapid fire questions for you.
Awesome.
The first one is, what podcast are you listening to right now?
I don't know. I need suggestions. What should I listen to?
I don't have any right now. I'm not a big podcast girl. I listen to music and read books.
Okay, yeah.
So you don't have to have a
The thing is, I
podcast.
want to, but I don't know where to start. You go and you're like, are you going to spend years looking to find one? I get intimidated. So if you guys have suggestions, just tag me on Insta.
Have you ever listened to any true crime ones? I do like those.
Yeah, I call them the murder, death, kills. I'm sad because I know bad's gonna happen, and I can't change it. And there's I'm just hoping the story will be and she ran away. But it doesn't end that way, so I stick to a romantic comedy or something like that, happy endings.
What books are you reading right now?
Oh, what am I reading right now? I'd have to look. I read everything on my phone. So right now, I'm learning a new language.
Oh.
So I'm reading Harry Potter in that language. And I was stuck on chapter 1 for about 2 months. Chapter 2 went quicker, and chapter 3 is going great. And it's the first book. So if you guys have all seen Harry Potter and his family, the Dursleys, they're terrible. It's funny. It's sad, but it's kind of funny. So I think there should be more of the Dursleys. I think the Dursleys should have their own book so we can see more of them.
What language were you learning?
Italian. It's
Ooh,
interesting.
Interesting.
I'm not great yet, but give me time. Give me time.
What's your favorite song at the moment?
Oh, I don't know.
Who's your favorite artist?
I don't know because I don't know. I love stuff like I like Frank Ocean or stuff like that.
He needs to release another album.
Yeah. What?
He needs to. He hasn't.
Oh, I thought you said he was going to.
No, he needs to though.
I would literally give up my career to just be a roadie on tour with Frank Ocean. That's how much I love him.
Wow.
I wish he would like come on tour but he's too busy like being artistic probably. So, in any case, since he doesn't make that much new music, I'm always just looking for things that are just quite different and fun.
If you could have dinner with anyone, who would it be? Dead or alive?
Oh my gosh. That's a good one. I don't know if I have an answer for that. Wow. I'll have to come back to that.
Okay. Besides your family, who is the most famous person in your contacts?
I don't know. Serena's the cool one. She was always friends with everybody else, and it seemed like I don't know why I was at home. I gotta start hanging out with her and living her life. I think you've now solved all my problems. Thank you.
I'm sure you have some cool people in there. Yeah. So before we get to our student questions, just the last thing, and this might be the hardest question, but we've talked about your success in sports. We've talked about your success in business. We've talked about your success with philanthropy and nonprofits. Being involved in so many things, what is your definition of success, and has that changed for you through the years?
It's always been the same, and my definition from success definitely came from my family. It comes from believing in a higher power, that everything here is temporary, and you just have to be happy. Whatever you're doing, if you're not happy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you just can't buy happiness. You can't. So when you're happy, everything is possible. When you're sad or miserable, it is very difficult to get through the day. So for me, if I get to be happy and I get to do something I love, I was very fortunate to be able to get to play tennis, and that's the coolest thing on the planet. So yeah, doing what you love and being happy and being healthy, those are the things. That's success.
Great, thank you. 8 ways to be awesome, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. We're going to get to our student questions. So if they want to go ahead and get started.
Oh, and please say your name, where you're from, anything you want to add. Just throw it in.
Okay. That works. I'm not a very good singer, so I don't use those ones very often. My name is Lily. I'm actually from Frankfurt in Germany. I'm on the YSU women's tennis team here, and very excited to be able to ask you something. So my question for you is, what kind of personal values and beliefs have guided and helped you to be successful on court, but also off court?
Yeah, absolutely. Values are so important, and it's so important to believe in something, because if you don't believe in something, then you'll get anything. So you have to take a stand on what you believe in. And my values were definitely from my parents, and I also grew up Jehovah's Witness, so that was also played a big role in my life. And one of the big things is my mom always said, let your yes mean yes and your no mean no. That was extremely important. And then also to stand up for what was right. That was my mom. So that served me very well, because as a young person playing a professional sport, there's a lot of people who could possibly take advantage of you. But if you really have a good sense of what's right and what's wrong and stand up for what's right, it takes you away from those people. And also those people, they actually don't want to be around someone who's strong and knows who they are. So it's so important to know who you are and to have those values and to have that strong compass.
Thank you.
I'm Jordan, and I'm from Ursuline High School. And my question is, what impact do you hope to have on the next generation of tennis players and young people in general?
Yeah, what impact? Definitely to inspire young people to play sports, even if they don't play tennis, but to play something. And also just to be confident and to believe in yourself. because that's one of the best things that you can do for your life and your career is to believe in you and to bet on yourself. Because betting on yourself is always the right decision, and it is always your best bet. It's going to have the biggest return.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Joanna, and I'm also for the women's tennis team. And my question is, what has tennis taught you throughout your tennis career? If you'd like to share it with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So many things. Definitely confidence, because you've got to learn to believe in yourself even when it's hard. And the times you don't believe in yourself, you got to pretend like you do. And sometimes even that is enough to get you through when you don't actually believe, but somehow you got to fake it. So that self-confidence is super important. I think also knowing that if you put in the work, you'll get in the results. So I don't know if you want to call that the value of hard work. And then also that if you don't put in the right work or put in the work, you won't get the results, right? And so many other lessons too. So those are definitely two of the biggest ones. Like, never be afraid to pay the price. There's a price to be paid whether you succeed or you don't succeed. If you don't put in the work, there's a price to be paid because you won't get what you wanted. And then to work hard, it takes effort. There's a price too, but the price is always high, and it's like, which price will you pay?
Perfect, thank you.
Hi, I'm Lucas. I go to Ursuline. Venus, you've been in the public light for many years, and with that can bring a lot of pressure and criticism. My question to you is, how do you handle some of that pressure, and is there a specific critique someone's given you that made you want to prove them wrong?
Yeah, I felt like there's people who talk and people who do. And I was a person who was doing it. And even if I wasn't doing it perfect, I was doing something. And then there's the people who are talking. And if they're talking, that means you're doing something right? Because someone has something to say. And you're not just sitting back on the couch eating potato chips, watching Netflix. And I do love Netflix, but not all day. So, yeah, criticism is fine. And you got to just let people do it and move on. And honestly, find the humor in it.
Thank you.
Of course.
Hey, I'm Victor. I'm from Belgium, and I'm from the men's tennis team. And I have a question for you. How important do you think that self-confidence is in tennis, and how can you build it as an athlete? Because I'm also a tennis player, and when I have no self-confidence, it's so difficult to stay positive on court.
Yes, absolutely. It's so important to stay positive on the court, because in any sport, even if you're on a team, if you're not positive, it affects the team. But in tennis, it's unique because you are, even though you play on the team with the other players and your result is important, you are the team. Like, you're the guy out there. Mm-hmm. And also, how do you want to treat yourself? You know, how would you treat your friend? Would you want to see your friend getting down on themselves, or would you want to see them treat themselves well and stay positive? So treat yourself like your best friend. Be your best friend on the court. Be your biggest cheerleader. Because that same amount of time that you're using being upset is the same amount of time that you can just move on and move forward. And tennis can be very frustrating because you can miss the same shots over and over and over, and then you're like, here comes that forehand down the line again that I missed 100 times this last month. And you start to think, I'm going to miss it again. But each time is a new opportunity to succeed and to do it again. And every time you get that shot again, it's another time to go for it. So it's that, what if I make that shot down the line? Well, I'm saying that because the forehand down the line, sometimes I missed. So in any case, be your own best friend on the court. And if you have a time machine that you can go backwards and change some things, please give it to me. But since you do not, and your future is moving forward, and time is moving forward, live in the future, let the past go, and compete as hard as you can in this moment right now.
Okay,
So
thank you.
I know you can do it.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Aviana, and I'm from Ursuline High School. Can you tell me about a time where you faced a significant setback and how you came back from it?
Yeah, most definitely. There's so many setbacks in life and in sport. I had many setbacks with injuries or surgeries or illnesses. And definitely one of my biggest setbacks was being diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. And I got to the point where I got so sick that I couldn't play professional tennis anymore. And so I was out of tennis for more than 9 months. And it was shocking because as an athlete, I'm just used to working as hard as I can. And if I would just work and if I just do the work, I can get there. And in this case, I couldn't do anything at all. So it was a setback that was completely unexpected. And it was a setback that I had to learn to live with. And it was a setback that I had to learn not to let it define me, because when you live with an autoimmune disease, it's always there, unfortunately. So I had to, in some ways, accept it, but also not ever let it become the thing that led me. I still had to be the person that controlled it, even though it was a little out of control. And so that setback was something that was completely out of my control, and it was never my fault. But at the end of the day, I wanted to just live life on my own terms, and I got to do that, even if it wasn't the terms that were perfect, but I got to still play for the sport that I love and continue to be positive even in a situation that was challenging.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've had some, oh no, I think I lost my.
Oh no. Come back.
Hello, there we go. We've had some great student questions today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have run out of time today. Before we send Ms. Venus Williams home, I'd like to thank the Thomas family for providing the opportunity to host Venus Williams. Please join me in a round of applause. Venus, it was such an honor to have you today. You are always welcome back here at YSU.
Thank you, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, Venus Williams.
Thank you.